they come out of the struggle. If you look at Congress, Congress is 125 years old, right? Before 1947, they were fighting, sacrificing, and Akali Dal was doing that, but they have gone off the track at the moment.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean that we cannot. The leaders are being built. The leaders are coming forward. It's not me, but there are people who are. Look at Ranjit Singh. He's educated. He's a lawyer. He knows what he can do.
Yeah.
So these are the
But can Ranjit Singh do what he can do here? Can he go to India and do what he can do here?
He can't do that there. That's what we're fighting for, because the Indian government doesn't allow you. And that is the key to it, because the state is controlling everything. Judiciary, police, you name it, they are controlling. And if you are controlling the whole of it, there is no fair elections. And if we had that, look at what the Sikh nation did.
But you have a leader. You have a leader in Punjab, Badal, who's a Sikh. You have a leader of India, the Prime Minister of India, Sardar Manmohan Singh, who is a Sikh.
Yeah, I agree. But KPS was a Sikh, right? But they are in a structure. KPS was a police officer. Don't forget that. Badal is a puppet of BJP. Manmohan Singh is a leader of Congress. How can you expect a Congress leader to give what Sikhs need?
Ranjit, how can you expect a Congress leader to give what Sikh need? What do you ask from this leader? He's a Sardar, he's a Sikh. I mean, I never hear him speak. I don't even know if he has a voice. But, you know, as a leader, we look at him and think, Sada Bandaya. How do you feel about that?
This is a very sophisticated ploy by the Congress party. Manmohan Singh does not represent the Sikhs. He's never stood for election. He's never been voted by anybody, never mind the Sikhs. And he doesn't claim to represent the Sikhs. He's a nominee of the Congress party. And he will be quietly booted out of office as soon as Sonia's son is ready to take up the reins. And that's widely accepted in Indian political circles. So, actually, we've had a huge hoax played on us. We've been told you've got a Sikh Prime Minister. He's not a representative of the Sikhs. He's done nothing for the Sikhs. Quite outrageous, and I think
he represents the Sikhs.
He does not represent the Sikhs.
No, but when people look at him, they look at him and people say, Manmohan Singh, he's a Sikh.
Which is why I called it a sophisticated ploy.
Right.
And I think it's a deliberate, sophisticated ploy. And some of the more...
But don't you feel proud, though? Don't you feel proud when you think, you know,
some of the more,
at least there's a Sikh in that seat,
some of the
which people probably thought a Sikh would never get to that stage.
Some of the more naive amongst us think that, because they don't understand the reality of why he's where he is. But, I mean, people like him will become exposed anyway. He's not going to need much help. Just before the elections were held recently in India, he went to Punjab, made a couple of absolutely obnoxious statements, which have been vilified across the Sikh world. He said that he's an Indian first and a Sikh second. What self-respecting Sikh would say that?
But Sikhs here say, I'm a British Sikh, I'm a British first, and I'm a Sikh.
They are Sikh first, and whichever passport you hold is secondary.
Yeah.
He also talked about the need to forget 1984. Do you know any Jews who tell you to forget about the Holocaust? I don't. And I certainly don't know any Jewish leaders or representatives, as you've just described him as a Sikh leader. But I want to come back to the Jewish analogy, because you talked about whether we would go back to Khalistan should it be liberated.
Yeah.
And I said I might. For me, that's not germane, because the issue is it's a homeland for your nation. The Jews, the Jewish diaspora...
No, it's a homeland for your nation that you're actually fighting for while you're sitting outside of that country.
Well, this is why I was coming on to talk about the Jews. Israel has been...
Let's talk about the Sikhs.
Well, no,
The
because
Jews,
I think
we know about the Jews. Let's talk about
I think
the Sikhs.
the analogy...
Let's talk about the Sikhs. Forget the Jews. We can't, because I don't want to forget the Jews. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. But we can't, because this, we only got so much time on this channel. Let's talk about the Sikhs. Let's just talk about the core point that we're here talking about today. I'll come back to you. Pyara Singh Manmohan Singh, how do you feel? He's the Prime Minister of India.
When we had Maharaja Ranjit Singh ruling Punjab, when we had Punjab Raj of Sikhs at that time, there was a slogan going on at that time that Singh is not a Sikh and Sikh is not a Singh. That was a slogan at that time. And I can see that when I was in India, when I came to England when I was about 8, I could see that there were Hindu families who used to have their eldest son as a Sikh. And then obviously the other son may not have the hair, but the eldest son will always have a Sikh. But I still think, Prime Minister of India, to look at, if you ask anybody who's a non-Sikh, will say he's a Sikh, to look at. But I don't know, the policy of the government, obviously, politically, they are negative from that point of view. But he is a Congress leader, there's no doubt about that. But to look at it, he is a Sikh.
Yeah, Ranjit Singh, I wish somebody could just rewind him and one day he'd just come out with something out of his mouth, be an activist and just say something. We're forever waiting for him to open his mouth and say something. But just the issue of Khalistan, and before we move on, and where do we go from here? What happens from here? Obviously, you're talking about Khalistan. You're fighting for Khalistan under the Prime Minister of India. So if Khalistan was made, obviously you got council, you're the secretary of Khalistan, and they gave you the leadership. Would you lead Khalistan? Would you lead the fight? Would you lead the government of Khalistan?
That is a huge presumption on my part. It's for the Qawm, for the Sikh Qawm, for the Khalsa nation to appoint its leaders. There is nobody in this room or in this country or in Punjab who has the right to say that he would rule or be a leader of an independent Khalistan.
This is my point coming to, because that's something that Pyara Singh said. You haven't got at the moment a clear leadership, which is maybe somebody like Sant Jarnail Singh Bhindranwala, which is taking us forward on the path of Khalistan. You want Khalistan, he says Khalistan, Ungar says Khalistan, but then at the end of the day, if somebody says, Loji, have your Khalistan, where will the borders of Khalistan be?
Okay, well, I'm to the extent that I can deal with those questions, the borders of Khalistan will be determined by, in effect, a UN-sponsored referendum. We've seen a referendum in East Timor, which led to East Timor's independence in recent years. Obviously, you've seen the former Yugoslavia, you've seen the ex-Soviet republics achieve independence. We've seen the reunification of Germany, which was described in all of the official documentation as an exercise in self-determination of the German people. You've seen Kosovo come through, not fully recognised by some of the Eastern Bloc, but most of the Western.
Look, the state of Kosovo now.
The state of Kosovo, the economics of Kosovo, the leadership of Kosovo, these are all issues that will affect Khalistan. But nobody puts that forward as an objection to the independence of India, to the independence of Pakistan, to the creation of the Jewish state. Why do these become insurmountable obstacles in the debate when it comes to Khalistan? The point is, Khalistan has a legal justification, it has a moral justification, and it is the Sikh aspiration to rule in their own homeland. And these are the primary objectives and challenges that face us. We can all talk about, we can have a separate program about the economics of Khalistan. I believe personally that Khalistan, especially with the financial power of the diaspora, Khalistan could be an extremely successful state. And some people will come on and tell you we won't be